Hi, today's good person to know is Kiran Chadha. He's Senior Consultant at Bright Carbon. They create content primarily through PowerPoint presentations, making dynamic and compelling visuals. This video gives example as to how you can revolutionise the way you use PowerPoint. Now, I've been to an awful lot of presentations, and some of the times the presentation is completely boring because it's completely jam-packed with text which I'm not going to read, and I don't know why presenters you do that, because it's just completely off-putting and it just basically tells us what you're going to say about your presentation. A slide can make an awful difference if you use it correctly. Now, I've been to other presentations where the speaker has just done a phenomenal job at engaging the audience, and Kiran says that's a really simple process to do. In actual fact, he demonstrates how you can make a really good slide by just using a simple effect on PowerPoint. He talks of how you can make it easier by using the quick toolbar, duplicating and aligning visuals, creating animations with motion paths, and gives some real step-by-step examples as to how you can do this. He says graphs are self-explanatory, and when presented, the audience is likely to glance at it but then switch off, but then the presenter is going to continue rambling on for the next 5 minutes. But Kiran says that if you build the slide into stages, it helps to keep the audience engaged for longer. He also demonstrates focus shifting, blurring, about the importance of getting the audience to focus on really clear and concise messages. And if you can't find the object that you want, then there's a really nifty tool in PowerPoint which enables you to do this. He concludes his presentation by telling you about the importance of hyperlinking your presentation. It's just a way to make your slides more manageable. This video is really relevant to anyone who's got to present to a board, a committee, colleague, or about to pitch an idea. It's just a subtle way to keep your audience engaged for longer. So I hope you enjoy this video, and thank you for watching.
The problem is that when you sit in the audience, you have this natural compulsion to read through all the text, and then you kind of ignore the presenter. The important thing is to think about your audience. What do they need to get from your message? And we would say that rather than create the slides that completely make sense by themselves, it's best to actually not make the slides completely make sense by themselves. Break out the message between what the presenter's going to say and what's going to be on the slides themselves. If you use animations to break up your content into bite-sized pieces, you can control the flow of information to the audience. So you can break down exactly what they're seeing and what they're learning at each point, and that's crucial. PowerPoint can do a lot more than people think it can do, and that's true of its graphic design capabilities as well. So you'll be used to creating boxes and text boxes and that kind of thing, but just with a few tweaks you can really change how things look. So up here I'm in the Insert tab and I've got to Shapes, creating a simple block or whatever it might be, and some people will just stop there. You might change the fill colour. Look beyond that, go into Shape Effects and have a play around with some of the different effects in here. Now, there are lots of presets that are kind of built into PowerPoint which are nice to use, but each of these can be tailored, messed around with. So the reflections, for example, you can choose how much of a reflection you want on a shape. When you're creating visual content, you don't want that to be jarring to the audience in any way. So you make decisions based on what the audience need to see, but you also want it to be kind of pleasant, quite compelling, quite clear for them in terms of its message. Once you've created a shape and you're happy with the way that it looks, duplicating it is a really quick and easy way to create another version of the shape, and Control and D allows you to very quickly create a duplicate of that shape. Even more quickly than that, you can hold down the Control key and click and drag from the shape to create another duplicate. Now, if I put these all over the slide, like you can see, there's a very quick and easy way that you can get these shapes not only to line up, but also to distribute themselves evenly on the slide. So what you need to do is hold down Control and click on each of the shapes that you want to align. You can also drag a box over them if you think that's easier. And then on the Home tab up here, you want to go to Arrange, and in here you'll find some really, really useful tools. So you can bring things to the front of your slide and move them back. PowerPoint works in layers like that. You can also group them together, so you can format a group of objects all in one go, which is really helpful. But you can also align them, and if you go onto this menu and choose some of these options, you can align to the bottom, the middle, or the center. Really, really handy. So now they're all aligned to the bottommost point. And, I'm sure some of you have kind of already guessed, seeing as though we're in that menu, you go to alignment again, you can distribute them as well, so space them out equally, horizontally or vertically. Duplicating, controlling and dragging is a very quick way of duplicating the same shape, but you can also apply the features of a shape onto another one. So here, for example, I have, let's say this is a square, it's a different shape to the one that I've created. Let me create a circle as well here very quickly. If I want the attributes of the pink shiny box to be applied to each of the different shapes, I can click on it, go up to the Home tab again at the top, and use this tool here, which is the Format Painter. Now if I click on that, the next shape that I click on will pick up all the attributes of the first shape. That's what we call a soft copy. So it's not creating an exact duplicate, but it's picking up its attributes and applying them to another shape. Imagine we're talking about a 24-hour data center that we have, and in fact what we want to talk about is the fact that everybody who's using the system can access it whenever they like, 24 hours a day, very quick in terms of retrieving data, and it's automatically pulled to different users who are on the bottom using different devices. Now that's not just one animation that you can apply, but by working out how different combinations of animations work together, you can achieve some really interesting things. If I create a circle, let's see how we go about creating that. Now I'm going to just create a block color, general circle, take out the fill, and then apply the animations to it. Now I've listed them here if you want to kind of follow along. The first animation you want is an entrance animation, so that's one of the green ones. I'm going to animations just here, I'm going to add, and then the one that I'm going to choose is not actually in the first menu, but if I go down to more entrance effects just here, I can choose basic zoom. So it's got a basic zoom entrance effects, and I'm going to come up here and change it to out, as I said, just down here. Next thing I'm going to apply is a grow shrink animation. And again, I'm going to change how that works. So rather than choosing the kind of default that's built into PowerPoint, I'm going to play around with that, go into Effects Options, and then have that grow 350% instead. This animation pane, by the way, is really handy when you start using multiple animations on a single slide. So you see, I got to it by clicking on the animation pane box at the top. That brings up this kind of timeline list at the bottom, on the right hand side, and that breaks down all the animations that are going to appear on your slide. So rather than trying to guess what's going on, you get a very clear list. So now I've got my grow shrink animation, and I'm also going to use a fade out. So once again, add and fade out just here. Now I want these animations to happen together, and I want each of these to last for the same amount of time, happen after previous. So let me just do that. So what we've got is a zoom animation to enter, got a grow shrink at 350%, and then a fade animation, as you can see here. And then the last thing I'm going to do is repeat them, so you get that kind of pulsing effect. And it's these two I'm going to repeat. Click on here, effect options again, and let's have a look, say 3 times. Let's have a look how this works now. So if I click, you can see it zooms in first of all, and then it pulses out. And all that's doing is zooming in initially, and then it's growing, and as it's growing it's fading out and repeating that animation time and again. So again, there isn't just one animation that allows these to pop out and move, but it's a zoom animation with a motion path that allows you to get that feeling together. If I wanted that to move and shrink down, how do I get it to sit where I want it to sit? There is a trick that you can use to help you line these things up. I've got the blue box which I want to move into the dotted line of the second box. These boxes are exactly the same size, they just look different. What that means is that the center point of each of them will be in exactly the same place. And when I come to apply a motion path to my shape, so again I'm in the animation menu, click down on line. The green arrow tells me where the center of the shape is at the moment, where it will start the animation. And the red arrow, the white circle on the end of the red arrow, is where it will finish. If you want it to move to a different place, you just grab the end of the red arrow and move it and drag it wherever you like. To click on your target shape, essentially where you want it to go, apply a motion path to that as well, and then don't do anything with it. What that does is it gives you the precise center point of that shape, the starting point from it. So now to get the blue box to sit on top of the dotted box, you just need to line up the red arrow with the end of the green. So by holding the red, dropping it over, you can now see that the red arrow finishes just where the green one begins. Those 2 white circles are lined up. I can get rid of this second animation because I don't need that. And then when I play it, what do you know? It sits right in the middle of the box. You can take this to the next level because we don't just want to move the screen, if you remember. I showed you the blatant shot of the website, and then it shrunk down and sat in the screen itself. You duplicate the box that you want to move. I'm going to right click on it and go to the format shape menu that I showed you before. This time come down to size. I'm going to lock the aspect ratio so that the proportions of the shapes stay the same. I'm going to make this 50%. Now, I'm just doing this 50 for the sake of it, but obviously depending on what you need to do, it will be different. Now, this is now our target box, but I know that that shape is exactly 50% the size of the next. And I do the same trick with my motion path. So this already has a motion path on, I drop it on the middle of the green. But this time around, I select the shape again and apply this grow shrink animation. I go into the effect options and I type in 50%. And I press return. You always have to press return Let's, if you don't, it doesn't stick. Okay. So now I'm going to have these two animations happen together. I can get rid of this one, I don't need that. And then when I play this, it shrinks. It sits exactly in the shape. You come to put that into something, it's simply a case of applying the animation, the same tricks that I've used, but then building in some kind of object, a screen. When you create a graph and you present it on a slide or whatever, the audience is probably going to glance over the figures, they'll have a quick look at maybe the trend line, and then they'll spend some time reading some of the labels, have a glance up and down the axes to try and get the context of the information before kind of making up some assessment about what the shape actually means. Now the problem is that as they're doing that, the presenter, the poor fellow, the poor lady, is standing there explaining what they're seeing. And obviously the audience isn't paying the blindest bit of notice to her because they're too busy taking in the graph. A better way around this is to build the slide in stages. So build in your axes first of all, and this gives you a chance to talk about the context of the information, to key up the information that you're going to present before the audience is distracted by it. So this time around I might say I'm going to present our sales figures, our revenue figures from the last 6 years to give you an idea of how we performed against the market. So this time I'm going to show you the market trend and where the rest of the sector was. We had, a poor 2006. We were heading kind of on a downward spiral, which wasn't great, but between 2006 and 2007, we launched a new project, or whatever it might be, which has allowed us to do really well, and we were on a very strong upward trend. In 2008, when the recession hit, we fell with the rest of the market, but we recovered much quicker than most, and then we've continued this upward trend since 2010, which has been really positive. Now, by breaking the animation down, by breaking that chart down into stages using animation, I was able to break down how you understood the information. It gave me more opportunity to talk about to add value to the learning experience, but it also meant that you weren't able to just glance ahead, kind of make up some assumption and then move on. So it's withholding information from the audience as much as drip feed. We use the focus shift here, which is quite a cinematic effect, and it's not something you often see in PowerPoint, but it's actually very easy to do. All individual shapes at the moment. So I want these ones at the back to blur out. All I'm going to do is select them all and then right click and choose save as picture. The reason that you have to save it as a picture first is because you can't apply the blur effects to a shape. I'm going to lie that over the top and then apply, if I go along to picture tools just here, you can see this option called artistic effects. Choose blur from there, bring this one back to the front, and then I just apply a fade animation. And then you can see that as that comes in, the others blur out and this one's more prominent. Way of shifting focus. So rather than have things zoom in and out, you can just have them change and the audience naturally pays attention to the thing that's in focus. You'll be able to show different types of objects, but you can't necessarily find the right picture. You can use the auto shapes to create more than just the auto shapes that are in the menu itself. Now you have to find the shape intersect, shape subtract and shape union tools. These are things that you add to your quick access toolbar because they're not available in the normal PowerPoint menu. You can create any shape you like from them. I'm going to shape here, I'm going to stick on a bit of block. Then I group them all together. This time I'm going to use the shape union tool. And now I've got a single shape, but you can create pretty much anything you want using this method. The three tools that I've highlighted allow you to join shapes together. You can remove bits from other shapes, or you can remove the the intersect bit from the middle of them. And with those three things, you can let your imagination run wild. You right click on your shape and go to edit points. You can tweak these little things here. Sure, you've been in the scenario where you're presenting something, training material, whatever it might be. Everybody's kind of eventually turned up on time, you're halfway through the slides and everything's going really well, and then somebody else walks in that needs to see the presentation from the beginning, or they need to see a particular section, and you haven't got the ability to quickly jump in and out. A way around this is to hyperlink. Think about how you can link between each of the slides and build animation into PowerPoint to help you do that. Click on any shape that you created. Now we've got a picture, a text box, and a group of objects just here. All you do is right click and click on hyperlink, and then go to place in this document, and then you can choose the slide that you jump to. Good idea is to maybe be able to jump back to a menu slide by clicking on a particular icon or whatever it might be and then clicking back. Pictures and text boxes are fine, they're just single objects. If you have a group of objects, you can't hyperlink the entire group. So what you need to do is create a box over the top and then make it invisible. But that you can hyperlink. Now, just to give you an outline of how this might work in a presentation, a good technique, I suppose, would be to have a menu slide and to hyperlink each of the options, each of the points on your agenda, and have them take you to a specific section, so then you can jump around between them if you need. have each of the buttons take you to a particular set of slides, but then think about having a way to get back. So a good trick is to maybe put your logo in the top right hand corner, will probably be there, put an invisible box over the top that takes you back to the menu. So then wherever you are in the presentation, you can always get back to that menu slide and move around the presentation as you need. If you need a quicker way to get around, maybe have 4 small boxes down the left hand side or the right hand side, and then you can use this to quickly jump between the sections. Follow-up that you'll be able to get here. There's an online PowerPoint course that you can sign up for, which is comprehensive. Lots of weekly online masterclasses, which are free. All this is free. And lots of presentation tips and advice.